What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talker. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast today. Fully loaded show for you guys as we move closer to training camp, 2 weeks out at this point. Some AFC championship hopes maybe for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A former player talks Najee Harris, and then the Steelers' biggest disappointment of 2023. We're all going to dive into that plus more. It's a beautiful day in the Berg. It's been a beautiful week here in the Berg. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm itching. I'm eager. Sports have this is kind of a lull in the sports calendar.
Yes.
I've kind of dragged myself into baseball a little bit this summer, a little bit more than I usually do. I don't know, yeah. But I don't know, I thought the home run derby was over. I don't know if you watched that. I thought that was kind of underwhelming. No, actually, I found that pretty entertaining, actually. But
yeah, for a home run derby.
What do you mean? The home run derby's sweet.
I'm not a home run derby. I used to be. I think it's died off. It's
last year was cool.
Last year, yes.
Yeah. Well, and they were in Colorado, so those things were flying. Like they were hitting 500-foot homers. Like that one was sweet. This one was fine. But then the All-Star game, I don't know. I'm not as into that, and I don't know. Now there's just nothing going on. We get a couple days before even the team I actually care about starts playing again. So I don't know. I'm all in on football right now. Football could start within the next 45 minutes. That'd be sweet. I would like that.
I would also be about that if football started in the next 45 minutes. It is the worst time of the year. Somebody, I forget who I was talking to yesterday or 2 days ago maybe, and they said, "You really got nothing going on these days, huh?" And I'm like, "No, this is bad, man. This is your day's over at 3:00, and you're just like,
yeah, I don't know what to do with my, yeah.
I could look at Twitter again for the 400th time today and find nothing. Right. Yeah, it's rough, but we are getting there, and with there means that there's some hot takes, and we're going to talk about all those hot takes. We'll start with a big one, positive one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fox Sports, Jason McIntyre, who we talked about last week. Why did we talk about Jason McIntyre last week? He was on here for something.
That's a good question.
Oh, he might have been the Aaron Donald. He was the Aaron Donald. Yeah. That's what he was Monday. Jason McIntyre, the show is a fan of Jason McIntyre at this point for what he has done for us. Shout out him. He gave 5 bold predictions for the entire NFL this season, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they entered at number 5. Bold prediction number 5. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to the AFC Championship game. Quote, Kenny Pickett, during the final 7 games last season, was a top 11 quarterback in the league. That guy was a rookie. Kenny Pickett is mature. He looked sharp at the end of the season. The defense will be back and be really good. I've already bet them to win in week 1. This Steelers team is a bye. So 2 pieces here. 1, the bet to win week 1 against the San Francisco 49ers. That's a big one. You start off with a win over San Fran, you got to be feeling pretty good, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. That's not that crazy to me. No. At home, first week of the year, you don't really know, is Brock Purdy going to be who he was last year? When teams finally have some film on him. I don't know. I guess the 49ers got a little bit better on defense, adding Javon Hargrave, right? But
no, yeah, the return of Javon Hargrave. That'll be cool.
Javon Hargrave revenge game. But I don't know. That's not that crazy to me. If you asked me to put money on it right now, I would not feel uncomfortable taking the Steelers in that game. Yeah, I just thought the top 11 quarterback for Kenny Pickett down the final set. I thought top 11 is a funny number. I don't know. I don't know why. I just you could have said top 10. You could have said top 15.
Yeah.
Top 11 is a very funny number to use.
That just shows he was putting his time where, he was like, all right, let's see exactly what this number looks like right here before I just shout it out there. 11 guys. Right. You think we could come up with that 11 quarterbacks? Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow,
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, obviously.
I'm
out of them. Aaron Rodgers. There's the givens. Aaron Rodgers is a given. Brock Purdy, definitely Brock Purdy.
Gino,
definitely Gino. We're only at 7.
Yeah,
we're at Geno Smith.
Jared
Goff.
Oh yeah, Pro
Jared
Bowler.
Goff.
I don't know, like
Who?
Pro Bowler
Jason Hunt.
Tyler
Get out of
Huntley.
here, Jason Huntley. There's 8.
Tyler-
It's not top
Yeah,
9, maybe top 9.
yeah,
But
maybe.
I like the number 11.
Yeah. I bet Goff was in there too. Goff was pretty good.
Yeah, Goff. All right, so we're 10. Yeah, there he is, top 11. Boom.
There we go. There we go. We did it. But yeah, my only issue is this is like, I don't know. You look at the teams that have made the AFC Championship over the past, you could go back, I guess, 5 or 6 years, and
yeah,
top 11 quarterbacks usually don't.
Yeah, it's not
make
the
it.
top 11.
It's like it's been like Mahomes and Burrow and Allen and Tom Brady. You know, Blake Bortles and Ryan Tannehill have slipped in there, but they've had otherworldly defenses, which I guess could work out. I mean, I guess that would fit the mold, but they don't usually fare very well in those games either. So that's where I think this one breaks down a little bit and gets a little shaky, but I don't know. I guess I don't hate this. This also in this like set of predictions, McIntyre also predicts the Bills to like really fall off, I think.
Yeah.
Which that would have to happen because I think the conference as a whole got a lot deeper this year. It would not be an easy path, I think, for the Steelers to make it.
No, I don't think so either. But I do think that the path is there. Like you go back a couple of times, the Pittsburgh Steelers have. I remember growing up, and like you obviously always scout out the playoff picture when it's there. Like, okay, how do the Steelers get to the Super Bowl from here? And a lot of times I remember growing up where like they should have had a run in with like the Tennessee Titans, who at the time were like the greatest team in football, and the Baltimore Ravens beat them. Like those opportunities are there. Those things could happen. And I think that the right set of circumstances finds its way to Pittsburgh, and this could be a real thing. Like if you run into Patrick Mahomes in the first round, chances are, it was it was a great time. We had a great season. It was a lot of fun. You run into Josh Allen, I don't fall for the whole like the Bills are going to fall off thing. Not yet. If anything, I think it's going to be the other way. Like I think that last year the Bills had so much going on that like it's going to be very hard to imitate what happened last year and say that they're going to be just as unsuccessful. But the Bills could be an opportunity. I think you somehow find your way to the Jets. That's like the easy path. Around Aaron Rodgers, because like you're like, okay, like that magic's not going to last all season long. It just doesn't. I think like if the Denver Broncos end up being good, that's a possibility. Or the Chargers, like that's a possibility. There are ways around this. Like obviously you end up with anybody in the AFC North, your chances of winning are 50-50. So you got to feel good about those ones. I do think that you could like I agree with you. Like the AFC is going to be deep this year. I think you could find your right circumstances of games to be like, okay, like there's a real shot here, but then you could also find it where you're just like, oh, this is not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Chiefs are the only team where I would say like odds of beating them are less than
like 10.
I was going to say 30, but okay.
I just don't see the Chiefs. Like, how do you beat the Chiefs? Like, you just can't beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs have proven that they're almost impossible to beat as a football team. Like it does, like unless you go up big, which is the problem with the Pittsburgh Steelers, is like how are they going to go up big if they don't have like the offense to go up by 25? And even if they do go up to, remember the Deshaun Watson the last year in Houston was up 24 at halftime, loses the football game. Like it just, I just until proven otherwise, man. I am.
What year was that? Because I was looking through like AFC Championship teams, and the Titans made it one year, and I don't know if that was with Watson or Tannehill playing quarterback. I think it was 2019. Yeah, the Titans.
Yeah, I think it was.
Never mind. That
Texans.
Was dumb. That was never mind.
Yeah. I was like, what are you talking
confusing about? My yeah, never mind.
I think it was I think it was COVID. I want to say it was 2020. Might have been the COVID year.
Okay.
That they snuck their way in there. They were good that year, and then they lost 24 to whatever. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got to go up huge. And if you don't go up huge, like if you're any team in the, like, like you can't, I just don't understand like how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And until I figure that out, 10%, I'm going to go 10%.
Okay. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the teams, like you said, the AFC North teams, that's a toss up. Not a believer in the Jets either. Dolphins got better, but until you actually see if Tua's got his head on straight anymore. Like, I don't think you can.
Well,
look, is that not fair? Is that unfair? Like, I think
no, that was the best way to put that. That was the best way to. That was the best.
It's not his fault.
It's
not his fault. But like, you kind of got to wait and see. Chargers, generational chokers. Jags, we'll see what that is. I like the Jags, but
me too. But I don't think that. I think if they stacked up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, like I'm not going to label them as a team that would beat the Steelers. You know, maybe I think that they could, but I think that I'm not going to put them in the category of they're not going to win that game.
Yeah, and the Bills, like, I don't know, the Bills. I don't think the Bills are. I don't know. The Bills like kind of have to. It's another one of those. They have to do it before I can really take them seriously, I guess. That was just. I get what you were saying about everything that went on last year with them, and that's probably not going to happen again. But I don't know. I don't think they got much better than they did last year.
No, I agree with that one. I agree. I think it's the Josh Allen thing. Like, I just think that at some point, Josh Allen's a good quarterback, and if he's, like at some point, good quarterbacks win most of the time, at least once, So maybe I think that once might happen. Like, it always it happens once for everybody. Every like really good quarterback. It doesn't happen like for a Joe Burrow. Like, even if Joe Burrow is not like the immediate threat this year, I kind of look at it like Joe Burrow will get one. I don't know when it'll happen, but I would find it so hard to believe that the Cincinnati Bengals go an entire career of this guy and he doesn't win a Super Bowl. Just one. Doesn't have to be multiple. Josh Allen, I kind of find in the same boat. That's different for you, though, because you look at Josh Allen a whole other light than everyone else before NFL teams. Yes. That's like getting a Steelers fan on here and trying to be like, is Lamar Jackson good? They'd be like, no, he's terrible. Like
I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen always plays real well against the Patriots. I don't know. He doesn't like I understand the Lamar thing because he doesn't play very well against the Steelers. At least
no, he doesn't.
That's no statistically. Like he has some of his worst games against the Steelers, but I don't know. Josh, I feel like Josh always plays pretty well. Yeah. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I don't know. I just also don't. I don't know. The Bills always find a way to lose. I don't know. They find a way to lose in real heartbreaking fashion. Like
they do.
I don't know. I'm not going to count on them. I understand that theory, but I'm not counting on Josh getting his one. I don't know.
No, I get you. So what is, obviously when you get there, that's the big question. How do you get there? That's the second. Like, what's the, like you walk in there as like the lowest seed, as an 8 seed, in the playoffs. You're making it to the AFC Championship game. At that point, you got to go through everything. Or like, is there like a, I guess let's rephrase this one. What about this Pittsburgh Steelers team? Because we just talked about how that's a likely, I don't want to say likely, but it's a possibility. Like it could actually happen. What about this team heading into training camp has you sitting here going, that could happen?
Well, the defense, obviously, and I think the division they play in is going to be kind of a bloodbath. So I think it's very easy to imagine them winning the division, and getting to avoid the Bengals and avoid the Chiefs and avoid even the Bills, I guess, for those first two. Like, you wouldn't face one of those elite teams until
later.
Until I guess it'd be the divisional round at the earliest. So I think that's what really gives me confidence is that their division, while it's tough, they're going to play well against their division, and their division is going to beat up on each other enough that, like the division winner might be the division winner with the worst record, but they'll be battle tested and they will still be a division winner that gets to avoid those elite teams until later in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fact that the Steelers, like, what makes me believe in this is it's a bold prediction, but it's not like super crazy to think about, is the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers very much so could win the AFC North. And that's a real possibility. And if you do so, I think everything's on the table for this team. Everything. And I don't think it's going to be like incredibly hard. Like people are talking about, you got to win 13 games. You got to win 14 games to win the AFC North. I don't know if that's really going to be the case because, you just got to win the AFC North games. You win against the Cincinnati Bengals. You win against the Baltimore Ravens. and the Cleveland Browns, and you got an opportunity at the end of the season. Like, that opportunity is going to present itself. The NFC or the NFL always schedules these games so that you have a real shot to be competitive in those week 17s, week 18s against these teams. And I think if they win them, just like you said, like, it might be a bold prediction, and it is definitely a bold prediction, but it's not
impossible. Yeah, it's not impossible. This is not.
No.
Because this is also this is a real trendy, like, I feel like the Steelers are going to become a real trendy, sleeper team as we get into July and August.
Yes, and I just want it to be very known that me and you talked about this well before anybody else.
That's right.
Like, we were months ago saying, the Pittsburgh Steelers could be a team. They could definitely be. They got all the pieces to be a team. And everybody's like, it's so early. It's May. And I'm like, all right. And now we're sitting here and everybody's jumping on board, man. Just wait and see. Just like the Aaron Donald thing, like, when it all comes down, remember who brought it up first.
Right.
These guys. All right. Let's move on here. Former Steeler Ramon Foster went on the Ramon Foster show with DK Pittsburgh Sports a couple of days ago and talked about a number of things. One of the big things that came up was Najee Harris, and his choice of words were very interesting. He spoke highly of Harris, obviously, but then went on a little bit of, maybe Najee Harris is going to hit a point where he doesn't really like the Steelers fans because the Steelers fans don't really like him. This seems to happen with a lot of players. Deontay Johnson's in that boat right now. They're half of the fan base isn't Kenny Pickett fans. It's everybody. It's Alex Highsmith's dealing with it. I mean, if you go through the comments on our YouTube page and any video about Alex Highsmith, half of the people are going to say sign him. Half of the people are going to say get him out of here. This guy's not worth the money. That's just, everybody is always in that boat. But the fact that Jaylen Warren has kind of bursted onto the scene a year ago and is expected to do a little bit more right now doesn't help the situation. Foster went on to say, those who say we want Najee gone, don't be upset if Najee says some stuff in public or Najee is a little bit more sinister about his attitude and how fans treat him, because all that will play a part in it too. Oh, y'all want me to go? Y'all want me going? Okay, I don't want to be here. That is my player side, because people are so quick to turn the page on a guy of quote unquote bad production. True? False? Let's start with this one. Do you think that the criticism of Najee Harris to this point is warranted?
No, not really at all. I mean, I don't know how you can really criticize a guy who has rushed for 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons, has truly carried. I get it. The offense hasn't been great over these past 2 years, but he's been one of the few things that has been consistent and that has worked, especially behind a patchwork offensive line. And he's really carried that, and especially last year, like playing through those 2 foot injuries, and still rushing for 1,000 yards. Like, that was, I wouldn't call it heroic, but it was pretty tough stuff, and it was something that I thought every Steeler fan, they would tap into that, like, oh, Steel City tough, and like smash mouth football, like all that stuff would play into a positive narrative for Najee. So I don't know. I'm really shocked every time I see someone who doesn't appreciate Najee and doesn't appreciate what he does and what he can be. I think that's the other thing, is that this has not been an ideal situation for him. The offense has not been an ideal fit for him. And that there's just a lot of room for him to grow and a lot of room for him to get better. Like, he hasn't even scratched the surface of his potential yet, which should get you excited, I think.
Yes, agreed. It should definitely get you, like, that's my thing here, is like, it's not warranted at all. Hasn't been warranted. Last year, like you said, the foot injuries, not one, two Liz Frank sprains. 2. Imagine that, man. Like, I stubbed my toe. I'm out of commission for at least a couple of hours, maybe a full day. He's playing NFL football games. Do you ever like hear the analysis, or like, I'm a big podcast guy, as we know. So I listen to a lot of the New Heights podcast these days. I very much so enjoy it, but they always ask questions of like, would an average man be able to, like run for 5 yards in a game or get a first down or anything? And the immediate, like, it's not even a question. The immediate answer is no. It's like, you wouldn't have any opportunity to even get a yard in the NFL. And the fact that Najee Harris played 8 games on 2 Liz Frank sprains, which is, the bone in the middle of your foot is sprained, with a steel plate in his foot, and still rushed for 1,000 yards. Like that's so impressive. And to do it with no offensive line the last 2 years, like I think fans, just like you said, should look at this with a more optimistic approach. That people should not be in the point of it's time to get rid of Najee. It should be at some point you got to cut your losses, and you got to look at it like this. Maybe you didn't want a running back in the first round. Maybe you were super against a running back in the first round. Maybe in your head, you believe that you're right, that was a bad pick, a mistake by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, there's nothing you could do about it now. We are 3 years removed from that draft pick. At this point, there is nothing that's going to change. Najee Harris is the starting running back. Instead, maybe look at it like this. The Steelers have the best offensive line that they've had in the last 3 years. They have the best quarterback situation that they've had in the last 3 years. They have the best wide receiver situation that they've had in the last 3 years. They have the best tight end situation that they've had in the past 3 years. They've had the best defensive situation that they've had in the past 3 years. If this is going to be the year of Najee Harris, everything is lined up for it to be the year of Najee Harris. So why can't we just get excited? Like a year ago, people were excited. Najee Harris is going to be ridiculous. This is the Derrick Henry year, blah, blah, blah. It didn't work out. Why can't we do that again? Why can't we sit around and talk about how this is going to be the Najee Harris year again in 2023? Because everything seems to be adding up. I just think like it's too early to say this guy is, I mean, because he's the farthest thing from a bust. Right. If he was rushing for 600 yards a season and, he's putting up Chase Claypool numbers or something, like I'd get that, at this point, it's like, oh, okay, this guy's not going to work out. But that's not even close to the case. Like this is a guy who, with very limited opportunity, has put up 1,000-yard season back-to-back, has made a Pro Bowl, a 7-touchdown season, back-to-back seasons. It is not warranted. Let me ask this. How late into the season? No, I don't know how to word this. At what point does Najee start to get the criticism this year? You know what I mean? Like, what's the line of, okay, people are jumping on the Najee bandwagon, or people are falling off the Najee bandwagon? Because it's probably going to happen soon.
Probably the first time they lose, I would have to imagine. He'll get caught up in all of that. I don't know. The Steelers fan base is just big enough that you will inevitably, like, no matter what, you will have people throughout you'll have a small percentage, but it'll feel like a large number of people who are hating on Najee and just, they don't, it's just inevitable with this many people that you are going to find someone who has that kind of an outlandish take. But yeah, it'll I think get more widespread the first time they lose. And if the offense does not kind of take the steps forward that we think it's going to, because I'm of the belief that it's all going to center around how they run the football. Any improvements that they make this year offensively are going to center around, okay, can we be one of the best rushing teams in the NFL?
Yes.
So if they're scoring 20 points a game, if they're not, reaching that, 25, 26, 27 points or whatever, it's probably going to be because Najee's not having some great games. Offensive line can't block, stuff like that. So I think if you come at, I think if it happens, it'll happen real early. Yes. I think, whenever that is, it'll be the first time they lose that,
first time what if they lose week 1?
Yeah, it'll happen. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I agree.
Because we've been, it hasn't just been us. Like, there have been other people kind of building the hype kind of slowly a little bit. There are heightened expectations now. And I think it would be such a buzzkill to come into week 1 and just get smothered by the 49ers. Because I don't think they're going to get, like, ridiculously outscored. Like, I don't think the 49ers are going to put up 40 points on them. So if they lose that game, it's going to be because they've only scored, 19 points or whatever. And that would just be such a huge buzzkill. That would really kill everyone's mood. And I think everyone would get pissed off after that.
Do you think that Kenny Pickett takes the same amount of heat in that situation? You come out here and score 19 points. Say it's like a 14-17, 24-17 game. 49ers win. Offense looks bland. Is Kenny taking the same amount of slack that Najee's taking?
No, and I think neither of them would take as much heat as Matt Canada. Like in the, it would
Matt
kind of
Canada.
get distributed. Like I think it would go like Canada,
yes,
big gap, Najee,
yes,
Kenny. Kenny would be he'd be up there with Najee, but there'd be a pretty significant gap. I feel like.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, the heat on Matt Canada. Like, what's the number there? How many points do the Steelers have to score in week 1 for Matt Canada, for the booze of Matt Canada not to be heard in week 2?
Probably like, I don't know. 49ers are good, so 25 would maybe be the line.
25. That's a good number. I thought you were gonna be like 21. Like, nah, the 49ers are good, definitely, but it does not. There's no excuse there for.
Yeah,
it's got to be 25 minimum.
Yeah, it's got to be. You got to score like 3 touchdowns in that game.
Yes.
However
minimum
you do it,
3 touchdowns.
However you do it.
And they have to be offensive touchdowns. You have to be. No, it has to be. Offense has to score 3 touchdowns, or it could be, we'll say 25 points. Defense scores a touchdown. Steelers win. But if the Steelers lose, it's got to be 3 offensive touchdowns. Yeah. Okay,
that makes sense. I can get behind that.
Yeah, because otherwise, you're back to back. Like, you're coming back home against the Browns in week 2. That's Mitch Trubisky got booed, man. Mitch Trubisky got booed, and he didn't even deserve to get booed.
Right.
In game 2 at home, Mitch Trubisky got booed, and the Matt Canada screams will be.
You might see what there was a Pitt game last year. I forget which one it was, but Pitt fans didn't like their offensive coordinator either last year.
Yes.
And I remember one time in the middle of a game, I'm sitting in the press box. We're right next to the coach's box. So it's like there's a wall on the other side and on the other side of the coaches. And Frank Signetti is the offensive coordinator for Pitt, sits up in the booth, and I see this one guy in the section right in front of the coach's box. He just stands up after, like a 3 and out. He turns around. He just gives the coach's box the double bird, and then he goes and sits back down. It was so funny. He was the only one who did. It was just one guy he was just so fed up. It was so funny.
That's what it could happen. I don't know where the coach's box got to be close to. If you're a Steelers fan, you can find it. You just take a little scope of the stadium. Right. You'll find it. You'll be. He's up there every game, every single game. Those boos will be very loud. But I agree. I think that it'll start in week 1 with the criticism for Najee. If it doesn't start, I think it's very warranted for him to be just as angry and upset with the Pittsburgh Steelers fans as they might be for him, because, just like we said, man, it's not like at some point you have to look at it realistically. And this guy has had no opportunity. If you were given no opportunity at your job and then everybody got mad at you for not doing that job right, you'd come home every single day and complain about that job every single day and complain about how you're not given the right, circumstances to succeed. And it's the same thing. It is the same thing for Najee Harris. All right. Last thing I want to talk about here, Bleacher Report, who always has the best takes every time, came out with a list of each team's biggest disappointment in 2023, what they expect the team's biggest disappointment to be this season. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is 3rd round rookie tight end Darnell Washington. And this is really why. Quote, the Steelers don't necessarily have a reason to rush Washington's development. Pat Freiermuth, combined with the wide receiver trio of Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson II, and George Pickens, should allow them to bring him along at his pace. But those who think he's going to be an immediate contributor may be disappointed. It's always fun when the national media, especially guys who just like come up with these lists for every single team without talking to anybody within these teams, has to say about every team, but we cover the Pittsburgh Steelers, so we get the highlights of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think there is a single Steelers fan sitting around who has paid attention to OTAs and minicamp and what we have said and what everybody else has said, that is sitting there having conversations at dinner going, you want to know who's going to be real good? This is my Yinzer voice. You want to know who's going to be a real good contributor on offense this year? Darnell Washington. Guy's going to catch touchdown every game. It's not happening, okay? We have never once come on here, and nobody else has come on here and talked about how Darnell Washington is going to be this giant receiving threat. He's going to replace Pat Freiermuth, and he's just going to be the guy. You know what we talked about? Darnell Washington is going to block a lot. He's gonna
Right.
be a big blocker. He's gonna help the running game a ton. Do you you looked at this? What were did you have thoughts? I know you did. What were those thoughts?
Well, I just think it's real hard for a 3rd round pick to really like be a bust or a disappointment in their rookie season. Like,
Yes.
I get it. People have some expectations for Darnell Washington. Like you said, he's going to be like a 3rd tackle. He'll block real well. But like, I don't know. Even if he could not catch a pass this coming season, and I still don't think you'd be able to label him a disappointment. Especially when he like, I don't know. He's tight end 3 right now. He's still tight end 3. I on this team, I think behind Frymuth and Zach Gentry. Like, this is, I don't know what you really, like you said, I don't know what you can really expect out of a guy who, first of all, is a 3rd round pick. I can't get over that. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
Calling a 3rd round pick like your biggest disappointment.
Biggest disappointment. The biggest. Not even, I'm trying to look right now on who else they have. The Arizona Cardinals, Marquise Goodwin, Atlanta Falcons, Bud Dupree. Just didn't think that there was going to be a shot on that one. The Bills, Gabe Davis, Miles Sanders is in there. Chase Claypool, yikes. Nick Scott, don't even know who that is. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like, these are real. Tyron Smith. Russell Wilson is on this list. Jamison Williams. What?
Hey, how many? Yeah, putting a rookie on these lists is.
There's unless you're rookie, like Lucas Van Ness is on here. Anthony Richardson's on here.
Williams isn't technically a rookie, but he hasn't played yet, right? He missed all last year.
He played.
He played towards the end. Yeah,
yeah, couple of games. Khalil Mack's on here. Like, the Marcus Davenport's on here. Devontae Parker. Like, if we're being serious, you look at this list, you look at the entire thing, and if the Bleacher Report is sitting around thinking Darnell Washington's going to be the Steelers' biggest disappointment in 2023, the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. The Steelers are like, the AFC Championship game prediction is spot on if Darnell Washington is the biggest disappointment of 2023. Like
that means the linebackers work out and they're great. That means Joey Porter and Patrick Peterson are great. Like,
yes,
that everything else works out. Like, that's a good way of thinking about it, is that if Darnell Washington is the worst thing to happen, if Darnell Washington, not
catching touchdowns.
If that's the worst thing to happen to the Pittsburgh Steelers, then place your Super Bowl bets now, because those are going to be worth it.
What are you doing? Like, if that's the, and it doesn't even mention like he's not gonna play. It's just like he won't have a role, and then they mention the wide receivers, and it's like, cool, that expectation's not even there to begin with. So if fans are just like, oh man, dude, I was really hoping Darnell Washington caught a bunch of touchdowns this season. Well, you were disappointed, but you also have not been paying attention to anything anybody has said at all, including Darnell Washington and Mike Tomlin and Pat Freiermuth and Kenny Pickett and everybody else who's only talking about how this guy is pretty much a left tackle for the time being. Like, yeah, if that's it, man, think about all those things. Like you said, dude, Joey Porter works out. The linebackers work out. Cam Hayward doesn't get old. TJ Watt, stays healthy all season long. Kenny Pickett's a monster. Najee Harris is a monster. George Pickens is a Pro Bowler. Deontay Johnson's a Pro Bowler. Allen Robinson comes through with a huge season. Calvin Austin, just explodes onto the season. Think about all the crazy things that have to, like, that the expectations are so high for these guys. And then here's the expectations for Darnell Washington, and this guy is going to be the biggest disappointment of 2023. That's just that's as good as it gets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is hands down. If this is correct, shout out Bleacher Report, because you saw something we did not, and that's appreciated. That's appreciated. Steelers are in for a big year if
absolutely
if BR knows what they're talking about, which you never do, or you never know. Sometimes they do. So shout out to them. Shout out to everybody we talked about today. With that, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Like this video and find our podcast everywhere you get your podcasts. Check all of mine and Steven's workout at allsteelers.com. And as always, our pick coverage at InsideThePanthers.com. I will be back on Friday with Derek. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.